Welcome back. It's Bills by the Numbers, where we let the stats tell you where the Bills are at. We're presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Coming up, the Bills' initial roster has been set. What were the surprise decisions, and where might the roster be a bit thin? Steve is quizzed on Week 1 Bills history, and we'll have our one burning question. Someone get the silver dollar for the coin toss. Join us here on Bills by the Numbers. He's Bills Hall of Famer Steve Tasker. On Bills Radio, play-by-play man Chris Brown. And the Bills' initial 53-man roster is set. There could be some small tweaks here and there over the first couple of weeks, but more than 30 players were trimmed from the roster over the course of the last week. And these three things, thing number one is, what are your thoughts at first blush of the roster as it currently stands, Mr. Tasker?
When this roster is healthy, with what we know about the practice squad included in that, it's easily the most talented roster they've had since the Super Bowls. It's
wow,
top to bottom, front to back, veterans mixed with rookies, youth, athleticism, pedigree. When this roster is healthy, it's maybe the most talented roster they've had in decades.
Okay. So you took an overarching view there. I'm going to take more of a pebble level observation. I felt the initial 53-man roster heavy at defensive line, light at linebacker. They only keep 5 linebackers on the roster on the initial 53. Maybe that's an area where they tweak it a little bit because you need special teams players, as we know. Heavy at the defensive line. 5 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles, and you have 2 on the reserve suspended list that you're going to have to figure out when they come back during the bye in Week 7 on the roster officially. They can start practicing, or they can start meeting with the team and doing everything but practice in Week 4. So there are going to be some things to figure out there. But I found some of those numbers at those 2 positions interesting. Thing number 2, what was the biggest roster decision surprise?
I got to say this. You know what it was for me? I'm going to go off the board a little bit. I thought it was Shaq Thompson making his squad and only 5 linebackers.
So you thought if Shaq Thompson made the roster, the only way that was going to happen was if they kept 6?
Yeah, plus I thought the youth and athleticism of the guys they drafted and all the guys that were in the room already, I didn't know if they would be able to Shaq Thompson would be able to hang in there with these guys.
Yeah.
But his veteran leadership, his ability, his instincts, he brings something to the room. I thought 3 weeks ago when camp started, or 4 weeks ago when camp started, I was like, I don't know, Shaq Thompson. And now, after seeing him play, you can plug him in and let him play.
Yeah,
he's good.
Still has a lot of the athleticism that made him such a successful player. You know, in his younger days.
That's the surprise for me.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, 11 months removed from Achilles surgery. I mean, the way he was out there making plays, hitting people, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe he looked that good less than a full year off the Achilles.
That's what struck me about it. And certainly everything else, you know, a lot of the draft picks are here for all except one, I guess. And just the tight ends kind of went.
That was
like chalk it in. Trubisky's your backup. The running back room, no change there. Reggie Gilliam has a fullback still hanging onto this roster. You know, it's just so. And the offensive line, you knew that maybe there'd be some rinse through in the offensive line, but none of those front 5 guys were going to move. So, for me, certainly the draft choices on the interior and the defensive line kind of went as expected.
Yeah, I know we had this discussion on our daily show, One Bills Live, the conundrum they faced in terms of, are they going to keep 5 offensive tackles?
Yeah.
And they did a little roster gymnastics, but they found out how to do it, and that kind of surprised me a little bit. Not the designations, the fact that they're like, we're keeping 5 right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins, and then Ryan Vandermark and the rookie, Chase Lunt, and they put Tylen Grable on injured reserve designated to return as he's still in concussion protocol. So he'll get the full amount of time to really recover from what, at least by the amount of time he's been out, seems like a pretty serious concussion. So he gets another month to kind of ramp up and get right. And then they may have to make a decision at that point in time, like, what are we going to do? So 5 offensive tackles out of the 9 linemen, you kept. That was something for me. Yeah. Thing number 3, what is your favorite thing about the Bills' 53-man roster as it sits here a week away from the regular season opener? I think you touched on it a little bit, that you think it's one of the most talented rosters, but what's your favorite thing about it?
How much younger they are from a year ago is my favorite thing.
Youth, okay.
They got I think they added some speed. Now, obviously, Max Harrison's a big part of that if he gets back on the field and just, is himself. Hancock is a part of that. Dorian Strong is a part of that. I like those guys in the back end. They bring something. And the youth up front as well. T.J. Sanders and Deion Walker are really intriguing to me. And I think Joey Bosa as a veteran add, and I just like the youth and athleticism they brought to the table. And some of the guys from a year ago, most notably Keon Coleman, he seems like a different dude. I'm really excited to see him play.
Yeah. I'm excited about the defensive line. That's where I sit. I mean, the youth and the talent they have there might be as good as it's ever been in the McDermott era. You outlined some of it, and that's without Hoyt and Ogunjobi for the first 6 games. Add them back into the mix midseason. You could really have a defensive front that is ferocious and unrelenting. They're just going to come at you in waves, which is a formula that worked very well for the Philadelphia Eagles last year.
Right.
Let's not, dismiss that out of hand. So, yeah, I am pumped about what the defensive line is going to be able to bring to the table this season. And then finally, Steve, do you harbor any concerns that the roster might be a bit thin at a given position or two heading into the regular season?
Yeah. You're thin at corner. Your depth.
Yeah.
Dorian Strong is sitting behind Christian Benford. You got Trey White and Jamarcus Ingram. Certainly Max changes that when he comes on because, to me, Max goes right up at the top, if not with Christian Benford right next to him or right behind him. He goes in at the top of the food chain or higher up the food chain. So that changes things automatically.
Yeah.
So for a month, they're going to have Dorian Strong and Jamarcus Ingram. The defensive secondary has been a concern. I don't think it's as big a concern when they're all healthy, but they're not. They haven't been all the way through training camp. So we're kind of going with what we think is probably the case, not that we know that is the case.
I'm hopeful that seeing Max Hairston on IR designated to return is an indication that they don't expect to be without Tre'Davious White healthy for very long here. His status is still completely up in the air for week 1 until we get more information.
That tells me their suspicions are that he'll be there.
But, yeah, I would tend to think his prognosis is on the shorter side of the timetable than the longer side with Max. And, look, they could be mutually exclusive, but I kind of sense that one is tied to the other.
For sure.
And so hopefully, Tre'Davious is ready for the season opener against Baltimore, because if he's not, that likely thrusts Jamarcus Ingram into the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, Max Hairston can't get healthy soon enough.
Right.
Time to pivot to the numbers game, where Steve will be quizzed on Bills Week 1 history. Let's do it. Question number 1. Which NFL opponent have the Bills faced the most in a season opener?
The New York Jets.
It is not.
No way.
New York
really?
Jets. I was stunned too.
The Finns?
It is the Miami Dolphins. 7 times in Week 1 in their history they have faced one another. Question number 2. When was the last time the Bills had a shutout victory in the season opener? It's been a minute. I'll tell you that.
It's been like 91,
Not that old.
Okay. Yeah, okay, something like that. I don't even know if from 91 we did that, but I'll say like 2012. Like, was it the New England game, the 31-0 game?
There you go. It wasn't 2012.
Well, I don't know when that was.
It was 2003. So I'll give you half a point for that one. You got half the information.
That was
there.
You
remember the score. That's good.
Okay. Come on, that's pretty good.
Sam Adams going back on an interception return.
That was the
Rumble, big man,
what was
rumble.
the safety's name that we got that week?
Lawyer Malloy.
Lawyer Malloy game.
Yeah. Gets a sack on Brady.
Pumping his fist. People are going nuts. They cut it. Yes. That was when you knew that
He signed on Tuesday before the game.
cut by the Patriots, and he was their off-season workout champ. I mean, he was like the guy that got awards, and they pumped him up, and they cut him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then went on to win the Super Bowl. Question number 3. What are the most points scored by the Bills in a season opener in their history?
More than 31?
It is. And this, I don't expect you to get this because it's way back, but just give me a number of what you think the point record is.
42.
You nailed it, Steve. It is 42 points. It happened.
That's what I'm talking about. Where was it? What happened?
It happened in the season opener in 1975 when the Bills hosted the Jets and they won 42-14.
Yet another.
That is
half court, blindfolded shot for the money.
I think you
got it.
I think you were turned around too. Threw it over the head.
You know, here's the thing. You know,
That
it's
was
going to be one of
something
those.
there.
You know,
Wow.
It's going to be one of those. It's going to be 35 or something, 42. You know, one of those
Yep.
touchdown numbers here, right?
That was good.
Oh, how about?
All right,
Look
now
at me.
Steve, let's try
Check
to go.
me out.
Let's try to go 3.5 for 4. What is the largest margin of victory in a season opener in Bills history?
That's got to be it. 42.
That is not it.
Really?
It was 42-14 was the final.
Oh.
So it's only a 28-point victory. So
All
it's
right,
more than
okay.
that. And I will give you a hint. Your crew did it in a season opener. Largest margin of victory. Come on, think of a route in week 1.
It was 48-3 or something like that.
Well, I don't need.
I know, but I'm saying.
Can't a season opener
I'll say
where you just romped somebody.
38-3 was the score, and I'll say it was. The Jets.
Wasn't the Jets. This happened in 1992. Season opener.
Yeah. Wait. Rams.
Rams.
41-3 or something like
Final was 40-7.
that. Yeah.
And your margin of victory was 33 points. That is still the record for margin of victory in a season opener.
That's the Vernon Turner game. That's also the game.
That was at LA, right?
No.
No, it was here.
It was.
Okay.
It was here. It was a game. It was a game I hit Vernon Turner in, and it's also the game that James Lofton set the all-time record for yards by a wide receiver.
Did you separate Vernon Turner from the football?
No.
Oh.
Separated him from the ground.
Oh. Okay.
That's about it.
Knocked him off his feet.
Yeah.
Was the first thing that hit the ground his shoulder blades? Oh.
Yeah. That was good. It was one of the all-time good hits.
All right. That is the numbers game.
That
That was
a
an
chapter
entertaining
Let me
numbers
just say
game
this.
there.
That hit was so. It was a chapter in Vernon's autobiography.
Oh.
Well, Vernon and I are good buddies.
You're gonna have to get film
He's
of
a
that
great.
one.
He's one of the all-time great guys, and his story is unbelievable. He wrote a book about it, Vernon Turner, and I'm actually in it
That's
because
cool.
of that hit. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's
That's a
sweetheart
little
over there.
tip of the old chapeau
Yeah.
to Mr. Tasker. We move along now to our one burning question. If you had to pick a player on offense and a player on defense to provide a sharp spike in production in the 2025 season, who are you picking on each side of the ball?
On offense, it would be Keon Coleman, the wide receiver. I think he's going to play. If he plays 17 games, he's going to obviously spike up in his production. I think he's going to be a difference maker, not just overall, but also in situational football. So I had
Okay.
Keon on that side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, I think they're going to have a Buffalo Bill defensive lineman go into double-digit sacks. First one since Leonard Floyd did it.
Mm-hmm.
Who it's going to be, I think Joey Bosa might have 12 to 15 sacks this year.
Woo! That's a 15. It's a fat number.
I think he might have 12 to 15 snaps this year.
I also went Keon Coleman on offense. I think he's going to have 7-8 touchdowns. I think he's going to look like a man-child out there this year. He has been kept under wraps, and I think it's by design because he is killing it in practice.
He has been impossible to guard, and he's just been a big physical player that's I think so.
On defense, I am going Matt Milano.
Oh, yeah.
I am going to speak this into existence. This wily vet's going to play 17 regular season games, and he is going to tear it up and just have all-pro numbers again, like he did in 2022 when he got first team or second team all-pro honors, I think it was, and just absolutely killed it. And then when he gets back, Michael Hoyt. That guy was a menace in the preseason.
Yeah.
People are going to forget about him, and he's going to come back in week 8 after the bye, and he's going to look like a guy that's got his hair on fire. And he don't even have any hair because he shaves his head.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. And he might come back and him and Bosa, if Bosa's on the field, that's going to be a hard duo to contend with. They're going to that's a huge upgrade.
Or just put a turbo package out there. Him, Rousseau, Bosa,
and I'll say this too.
and Sanders. Good Lord.
I have real high hopes for T.J. Sanders and Deion Walker as well. High hopes for those two.
They're on the come for sure. Our closing figure deals with Buffalo's first-place schedule by virtue of being a division champion for the 5th straight season in 2024. That is part of the reason why for the 6th straight year, the Bills in 2025 will be squaring off against both defending conference champions. For the 6th straight year. In 2020, Kansas City and San Fran. 2021, Kansas City and Tampa Bay. 2022, Cincinnati and the Rams. 2023, Kansas City and Philly. And 2024, Kansas City and San Fran. Here in 2025, Kansas City and Philadelphia. Here's the craziest part. No other NFL team has had this happen to them more than twice since 2020, while the Bills have had it happen to them for 6 consecutive seasons, counting this year. That is amazing. And they're still winning double-digit games every year.
It is amazing. It is something, too, that when you think about the big picture of the NFL, teams like Washington, who kind of came from nowhere last year, it's going to be different for them. That's why Houston last year took a little bit of a step back.
Mm-hmm.
They came from nowhere 2 years. They had a first-place schedule. It's week in, week out. It's hard to answer that bell against a really good opponent who's tough to beat and doesn't beat themselves. The Bills do that constantly with teams that are in the playoff hunt and in the conversation every year.
Or in the Super Bowl.
And the Bills answer that bell. They have been a tough out for everybody, Super Bowl champions and conference champions alike. This team is a load.
Mm-hmm. That'll do it for this episode. Make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use or on the Bills YouTube channel where you can watch us as well, so you know when the next episode is released. Because when you need to know about the Bills, you need to check Bills by the Numbers. For Steve Tasker, I'm Chris Brown. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time, everybody.